Thank you, Dak Prescott. Today you lived up to Cooper Rush. You lived up to your contract. You lived up to all those national TV commercials. And now going forward, it's time for you to set the bar even higher that Cooper Rush reset for you. Thank you, number 4.
With the catch of the year of the decade, by Jefferson, Kirk Cousins, 8-1 Vikings at home against Dallas. So certainly they'd continue, maybe not. Micah Parsons with the sack, ball loose. Dallas defense, which gave up the big lead to Green Bay, not on this day.
He's the most dominant edge rusher in the NFL. Got to let him rush more.
3-3 late first. Tony Pollard bounces. And when he gets space, he can accelerate 20-yard run. And then from the one, all right, the bigger guy, Zeke, touchdown. 10-3 Dallas. But certainly this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice 1-2 punch. Pollard and Elliott.
Great game. Cowboys up 13-3. Pollard from Dak. That's the explosion we were talking about.
It just looks different, Boom. We say it everywhere. It looks different.
Dak with 150 touchdown passes in his career. Now Parsons gets to Cousins again, his second sack. Seconds to go in the first half. Dallas ball. Dak gonna roll, buy time. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Lamb lays out. Beautiful catch.
It's an old play that Green Bay used against the Cowboys when McCarthy was there. He brought it over. Nice execution by the team.
So a 60-yard field goal attempt by Brett Maher. It is good. He's 4 for 4, 60-plus in his career.
Nice little baby draw there, Boom. Just a small one.
Nice. You feel like golf, even though it's freezing everywhere. 23-3 at the half, Dallas. Dak, Pollard. They're not going to stop him. He could go all the way. How about them Cowboys? They don't need a Hail Mary here. It's 30-3. Early third still. Dante Fowler, when you know they got to pass, right?
Their defensive line is as good as anyone, and they got a lot of guys that can roll in.
7 sacks today booked for Dallas. Prescott to Noah Brown. He Noah that he was open. Nice throw and catch. Zeke from the 1. So Elliott 2, Pollard 2. The Dallas Cowboys. You know, 1 week, what's the matter? This week, whoa. Dallas, slice and dice. The Vikings in Minneapolis. Cowboys win it 40-3. Ed Werder, never a discouraging Werder with Micah Parsons.
Yeah, man, we had to come out here and make a statement. We heard all the noise, we heard everything, all the outside chatter, but we just stayed locked in, stayed in the room, and we said, this game won't define us. We're going to fix our mistakes and just get better. And to come out here and let all our hard work, all our hard work show today was great.
Well, I mean, how about them Cowboys? I mean, that's how they play like that. A week later, boom, darn impressive on both sides. And kicking, too.
Well, without a doubt, on the road, their game plan was outstanding. Pollard, Elliott, but this was about their defense.
Yes.
Their defense was outstanding. Anytime their defense can pin their ears back and rush the pass, you talk about 7 sacks. You have to be able to run the football against the Cowboys. The Vikings couldn't do that. This was a dominating performance by Dan Quinn's defense, and it was good. They needed this. After you go to Lambeau and you allow Aaron Rodgers to come back, they needed to come on the road. As a defensive player, I got to play with swagger. They got the swagger back today in Minnesota.
So a couple of team landmarks here. Dallas came in 1960, Minnesota in 1961. 1. Second largest home loss for the Vikings in history. They lost to the you weren't alive. 1963, they lost to the St. Louis Cardinals by more. Cowboys, largest road win in franchise history. Think of all the games they've won through the years, and that's saying something.
That's saying a lot. And for Minnesota, Boom, the questions are still going to be there. Less than 200 yards of offense today. Kirk Cousins didn't look good. Only threw for like 105 yards. What are you going to be able to do when you can't run the football? Do you have a quarterback that can get it done? We know what the wide receivers are. You went out, you traded for Hawkinson. You got Thielen, you got Jefferson, you got Cook. the quarterback. Can he get it done in a situation where the running game is not there? They needed Kirk Cousins today. He wasn't there. Now, the offensive line didn't block well, but those questions are going to hang over Minnesota regardless of what the record is.
Right. Every team's had their hiccups. I'm not making it.
Yes.
40-3 at home that's an eye-opener. Both, obviously, Dallas always at home on Thanksgiving playing the Giants. Minnesota home to the Patriots on Thanksgiving. That'd be some good football. And pretty impressive. That's
What happened out there offensively that just had you guys in sync today?
Yeah, I mean, we just played a complete game. Offense, defense. We knew we needed to respond after last week, and this was big for us. Now it's just about taking it one week at a time, one game at a time. If we can continue to do this team can be special.
Just about the combination of Zeke and Pollard when they're out there together. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, they're dynamic, and obviously when you have them both out there, defense doesn't know what's coming at them. Just for TP to have 2 touchdowns out of the backfield receiving, Zeke to have a couple rushing, just impressive. Those 2 guys can do whatever you ask them to do. They have no egos, and they're a great duo. We're blessed.
Your defense, a lot of criticism coming into this game. How about how they answered 7 sacks today on this Minnesota team?
I knew they would. They definitely heard everything that was out there. Those guys are hungry. They wanted to come in. They wanted to respond, make a statement. And when we get up and we give them some points ahead, that's what they're capable of doing tonight is hunting, and they did that for sure.
Quick turnaround. You got Thanksgiving against your rival Giants. Your early thoughts on that one?
Ready to go. Obviously, I missed them the first time, so ready to get at them this time and have a great Thanksgiving game.
Good luck. Have a great holiday.
Thank you.
Well, you heard Tracy say it. Obviously, the Cowboys in action as they always are on Thanksgiving, but this Vikings team needs to bounce back quickly as well, as they will appear on Thanksgiving against the Pats. 4 days to figure it out. And interestingly enough here, with that margin of victory on Sunday, the Vikings find themselves on a list that you kind of want to be on and you kind of don't. 8-2, but with the worst point margin at -2. The San Diego Chargers back in 1987 had a +6 point differential at an 8-2 mark. But here the Minnesota Vikings are coming back into question after a statement win against Buffalo. Plenty to figure out for the Purple. All right, let's dive in with the guys. Gentlemen, plenty to dig into here, whether it be the 2-headed monster that emerged in Dallas. But I just want to go surface level here first because it's a Dallas team that really let go of the rope in Green Bay a week ago and lost that game. They bounced back against the current toast of the conference, really, and handle them with little to no issue here, B-Mac. I want to focus on the Cowboys here first. What did you see out of them in this performance that made this so lopsided?
I mean, we can always talk about Dak Prescott and the offense, Tony Pollard and crew. But let's talk about the defense. Remember, they had basically a letdown against a team offensively that has really been average, to say the least, in the Green Bay Packers. Talking about coming into this ball game with motivation on your mind, a chip on your shoulder, they played that way the entire ball game. I understand they accounted for 7 sacks against Kirk Cousins, but when they was not sacking Lil Kirko, as they call him, they were putting pressure on him. He never got comfortable at all. They started the game with motivation on their mind. Remember the first offensive possession, Michael Parsons, a strip sack. They recovered the football, got their offense in a great position to put points on the scoreboard, settle for a field goal. But that was just the mindset for this team through and through for 4 quarters. So hats off to the Cowboys defense. They looked, in today's matchup, they looked like the best defense in the entire NFL.
And that's the thing, B-Mac. You can go from 1 week, Green Bay, they don't show up, the entire team, and you come to this week, and they look exactly like we thought they were going to play. It almost feels like what happened last week when the Vikings were in Buffalo, and Buffalo sort of no-showed down the stretch. It's so hard to get a feel of who these teams are, but I feel like the Cowboys are more this team that we saw today than the team that we saw last week losing Green Bay. You talked about defense, I'll talk about offense, and then you mentioned Tony Pollard, 30-yard touchdown catch, 68-yard touchdown catch. Rush for 80 yards. And oh, by the way, he's the #1 running back in the NFL in terms of yards after contact. Now, look, Zeke got the 2 touchdowns. He pulled the old Zach Crockett there when he was with the Raiders in the early aughts, where they just handed him the ball at the 1-yard line. He got all the accolades. But it was Tony Pollard that did the heavy lifting. Here's the touchdown right here, where he just outran everyone untouched. By the way, both those touchdown passes, Joe, Pollard was untouched into the end zone. And if you can't get your hands on someone that plays on the other team, you're probably going to lose by 37. here we are. Great win for the Cowboys. I think it says less probably about the Vikings, other than they just got their brain stomped in after a huge win last week. But I don't think it's a commentary on where their future is at in the NFL.
Well, let's talk about that future, because this is a team that now has to pick themselves up by their bootstraps in 4 days' time to take on the Patriots, who, offensively, they've showed us little to nothing, didn't score an offensive touchdown, still come out with a win here on Sunday. But that's besides the point, B-Mac. When you're in one of these locker rooms and something like this happens, when you're looking up at the scoreboard, and yeah, you win some, you lose some, but you don't want to lose many like this. How does the team keep this from compounding?
Well, they have to rely on their sound leadership. What I saw from the Minnesota Vikings reminded me when I was a child, and my mom used to make me take medicine that I didn't like it. It didn't taste good, but she made me take it, and I had to swallow it, and I had to, come to terms. It was good for me. This was a good loss for the Minnesota Vikings because you know why? It humbled them down. They needed a humbling moment, and like Ryan just mentioned, it wasn't just about being humbled. They got beat up. They got their behinds whooped today. The sense of urgency is something that we did not see. The first possession, sack, fumble. The second possession, you drove the length of the football field, 2 opportunities for T.J. Hockenson to come up with a huge touchdown. They could have really changed the momentum in this ball game. They lost it. Didn't come through on those opportunities. And because of that, they started slow, and the Cowboys just took off. So let's see exactly what type of leadership this team has in a short week to be able to bounce back and showcase that they're still a playoff caliber team, which is safe to say because their division is so bad. But it's more than just being a playoff caliber team. When you have this type of record, people believe and feel you should make a deep postseason run. So let's see what they can do in regards to their second opportunity to bounce back on the football field in a short week to showcase everybody, you know what? We're not as bad as we displayed last week. We just had a bad moment.
You mentioned the Thanksgiving Day game they got coming up, B-Mac. The good news is they should be well rested because they didn't do a whole lot of anything in this game. A lot of the starters were out by the fourth quarter, and they had time to think about all that went wrong. And I don't want to just read stats to you, Joe. 1 of 11 on third down. Not great. Time of possession, 37 minutes to 22 minutes and change in favor of the Cowboys. Also not great. And we came in with that graphic where they were plus 35-point differential, which is the lowest of any team ever at 8-1. Now they're -2. Last year, this same Vikings team that won had a bunch of close games, they finished 6-8 in those close games. Their point differential for the year, -1. So it just shows you how incredibly lucky you can be from one year to the next when the ball bounces one way as opposed to the other, and you can stack those wins. Now they're playing similar type football, different coaching staff, different GM, of course. Kirk Cousins is playing at a higher level. We know what Justin Jefferson can do. But now they have to find a way to win more convincingly, because once you get into December and January, those one-score wins can go the wrong way for you, and that's it. The season's over. So it'll be interesting to see what happens on Thursday night, that Thanksgiving Day game, and how much they've learned from this beating they just took from the Cowboys.
Yeah, this Vikes team really experiencing the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in 1 week time. Anytime we can give Bryant McFadden the chance to talk about some defensive back play, we got to do it, because you look at that box score and Justin Jefferson, 3 grabs for 33 yards is obviously not what you're looking for if you're the Vikings offense. You mentioned the pressure up front here from Dallas. Obviously, that leads to things being easier on the back end. But what did you see out of that secondary as well, B-Mac, as we take a look at some of the numbers here? 5 targets for Jefferson, 3 grabs for 33 yards. Schematically, you got to get that guy the ball more. What did you see on the back end?
Well, for the Cowboys, of course, they had Trayvon Diggs following Justin Jefferson. We know what type of player he is in the secondary, one of the best corners in the game. But today he didn't have to do a lot. He didn't have to do a lot because Kirk Cousins couldn't get set or comfortable in the pocket. At one time, I counted on a 5-step drop. Kirk Cousins had 2 seconds before someone was in his face from the Dallas Cowboys. And it was a 5-step drop. How is that even possible? How is that even possible? They played their best game, the guys in the trenches, and then they also incorporated some defensive back blitzes, and they were able to put pressure on Kirk Cousins. So, yes, Diggs and crew did a pretty good job, but I can tell you this much. Life was easy for them because they didn't have to cover long. This was probably one of the worst offensive line performances I've seen this year, coming from a team that has playoff aspirations, because they got dominated from start to finish from the Dallas Cowboys.
You know what it felt like, B-Mac? A little 2008 Lamar Woodley, James Harrison, Juan Timmons, doing all the heavy lifting up front, and then you guys just sit in the back and make plays. Because there's not a lot to do.
Ryan,
I mean, am I right?
That group you just mentioned won a Super Bowl, by the way.
It is no doubt a team game, and we are happy to play it with this team, gentlemen. Stay put. More action coming your way in just a moment. The Raiders.